With October 20th fast approaching, the race for municipal office across Alberta is heating up. From every corner of the province, candidates for mayor, reeve, and council are stepping forward with ideas for stronger communities, smarter growth, and brighter futures. Now, in this edition of the show, we are turning our attention to Brazeau County, where we are sitting down and chatting with Council Candidate Kara Westerlund. Kara, thank you so much for sitting down with me and chatting about yourself, but also chatting about your re-election bid for Division 4 in Brazeau County. Before we get into the issues, let's ask the simple question. What made you decide that another 4 years on county council would be what you wanted?
Quite simply put, Chris, I absolutely love what I do. I love working with the residents and fixing the issues within the community. I'm incredibly passionate about where I live and creating and continuing to build on past decisions to make this the best place in Alberta to live.
And what are the past issues that you have been working on personally yourself? Now, we can talk about the council as a whole, but as Division 4 councillor, what have you done in the last 4 years that you can say, this is what I have done and I want to see it continue on as we head into the next 4 years?
Well, a lot of it is the non-sexy items, as we call it: water, wastewater, roads, infrastructure. So we have managed to get a hard top on a number of subdivisions within my division. We've also done a lot of road work. We still have lots to go. We actually, I'd be amiss if I didn't admit, we do have a road that's failing in my area. And I do have it in for scheduled for the 2026 budget. A lot of convincing, a lot of pushing, a lot of background work into getting that done, because it is a big project. It's estimated to be around $4 million, but it's just work that needs to be done. Another piece that we worked on, we were having issues with our water treatment facility that services the Rocky Rapids hamlet, just over 200 residents, and we managed to get a new well put in and get people the quality of water that they wanted. There was nothing unsafe about the water. We were just having problems with the carbonate. So when you would run the taps, or your appliances would kind of get that crusty, bubbly film. So we managed to get that issue fixed. Again, not easy because it was a couple $1 million fix. The other pieces that we have done is included the new playground at Rocky Rapids. So our hamlet is one of the largest in the county and the most families with the most kids. We did that in partnership with the community league that's in the area. So the hall, the grounds where the playground is, there is some space there. It's actually owned by the community group, not the county. So a lot of people just assume the county owns it. We don't. So we were able to partnership with them through CFEP and get half that project paid for. And it was well over $200,000 to replace the playground there.
So, what do you see your role as councillor in bringing forward the issues that you're hearing in Division 4 to the county council table? Because people are looking for a strong advocate, someone who will be in their corner and fight for them. But when you're sworn in, you're not sworn in as Division 4 councillor, you're just sworn in as a Brazeau County councillor. So how do you see the last 4 years, or even your entire time on council, in advocating for the issues of Division 4, but also keeping in mind that Brazeau County also needs to grow, because without Brazeau County growing, Division 4 doesn't grow?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a difficult hat and bicycle to balance on when you're elected. Most people don't understand that once you're elected and you represent the whole county and not just the divisions. So I think I've brought to the table a balanced approach to that. So I know there's a lot of projects and need in my area, but I also respect that there's a lot of need and other projects in other areas. So it's about finding that balance. And I believe, right after the election, having a sit down with council, talking about each other's priorities, and then working through how we're going to achieve those in the 4 years coming ahead. So it's a bit, unfortunately, sometimes one of my projects might have to wait a year so someone else can get theirs done. But at the same time, I understand and respect that process because it is needed and it's there for a reason. But that being said, if we sit down right after the election and hammer out what we were hoping to achieve, I know that we can work together and get all of those projects accomplished. Some may take a little longer than others, but I think I've got the experience to understand and how to navigate through that process to make sure that not only things are done in my area, but they're done for the county as a whole.
And how do you see yourself approaching the issue of communicating with residents, but not just communicating with the people that are in your social sphere, but everyone, because you are being challenged. So therefore, I'm going to assume, and I know you should never assume, but I'm going to put a little caveat saying you're probably not going to get 100% of the vote. So how do you see yourself in your role in listening to everyone, even the ones who don't vote for you?
And that's important. I door knock, so I will be hitting all doors in my area. There's just under 600 doors. I will be hitting the ground running. I actually started door knocking last week because I know from experience, if you don't start the minute the writs dropped on the municipal side, that you can't get through all the doors. And I believe those one-on-one interactions and conversations are so important because not only do you find out what the concerns are, but you also find out the solutions. And I know, Chris, you've interviewed me lots through my other various roles, and I often say decisions aren't made and solutions aren't found just around the council tables. They are truly found around the kitchen table over a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and working with our neighbors to find what the best solutions are. So over the next 3 weeks, I will be hitting out every single day. It is a promise that I have made to myself and to my residents. But importantly, on top of doing that too, just the door knocking, it's about the interactions even after the election. And I think, I've been doing this for 4 terms. I'm incredibly approachable. My residents know my number now, some off by heart, which is excellent. I always check my emails, text messages. I do get private messages on my personal and my professional pages on social media, and I respond to each and every one of them. So I will continue to make sure that I'm open to listen. And that's the other piece too, is when you don't listen and you shut your ears off, you walk into a situation or a problem, and you're kind of closed off to the other options that are out there. And I think I've proven that I've got the ability and I'm willing to listen. Sometimes I walk in and at the start of a meeting, we start discussing an issue and I talk one way, but then I listen to my fellow councillors. And we do provide an opportunity at our council meetings to hear back from our residents too as well. And I can always take that pause and go, I didn't think about it that way. That's an excellent point. And I'm actually gonna, take what I was thinking and slightly change it to make sure that we take in what residents have brought up or other council members or staff have brought up, so that we can make the best decisions that we make going forward.
You mentioned something I would just want to just pick up on it for a second. 4 terms, you're running for a 5th term.
I
Now,
am.
I can imagine I can tell you that I have done things and I've lasted about 5 years and then I've said, okay, it's time to move on. But you seem to still have a passion for municipal government. What keeps you going? What keeps you motivated in bringing the best that you can to the council table, to the many different organizations that you represent, to ensure that the work that the people of Division 4 are getting is still the same as when the very first time you got elected, that it will be the same time the 5th time you've got elected?
I do love my community. I was raised here. I'm raising my family here, and it truly is a part of who I am. And I think I bring that passion to the table and continue to bring that passion to the table. And I think the difference between, 2010 to now is the passion is still there, but I've got the experience now to understand when an issue comes forward. It doesn't take me a day or two to figure out who I need to talk to, or where I need to go to find those answers. I'm able to do it, more often than not, the same day within 24 hours, just because I've kind of got that, experience behind me, and I understand which doors to open, which ones not to open, and where to turn to. And I find even now I get a lot of issues that aren't municipally related. They're actually provincial, but again, because I've got that really neat connection to the community, I'm like, I don't just say, hey, you know what, you need to call so and so. It's not my issue to fix. I actually say, hey, you know what, how about I walk alongside you? Let's grab, hold hands. I know it's kind of cheesy to say it, but seriously, let's hold hands and let's see if I can help find the solution for that, regardless if it's in the municipal world, the provincial, or the federal world. And you know what's really neat about that is I often learn just as much as the resident does as we're going through that process. And then in the next time something comes up, again, I can react a little bit quicker, and get things handled a lot quicker. And, you know, back to talking about, why I'm here and why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm a 4-H kid, so I was in 4-H for over 10 years. So all my childhood, I grew up with a sense of community and giving back. And this is just the way that I can do that. And that was literally entrenched in me from the time I was, 9, 10 years old, all the way up and all through my teens and in my early 20s. And I've just kind of continued on to that path. And I think it's really neat too, because I was raised here. I'm now raising my family here. So I'm walking the path of where a lot of our residents are. My grandma's here too as well. She's 90. So I'm navigating those challenges too with seniors and helping her where I can. So I bring a lot of that experience and a lot of that passion to the table. And, I'm the type of person is, you know what? I'd always tell people, you don't need to like me. I'm okay with that. I understand some people are just not going to like me, and that's okay.
How
But
can
if you have
people
an
not
issue,
like
or
you?
you, there's a few out there and it's okay. But if you have a problem or you need help, please reach out, please ask, because I can put all that stuff aside to make sure that you get the help and the issue gets fixed. Because at the end of the day, we're only as strong as our weakest links are in the community. And that's just why I want to step up. And honestly, as cheesy as it sounds, I just hope that this community and this place is just left a little bit better than when I found it, just so that my kids, hopefully want to raise their family here.
So we can talk about you for probably a good hour, but we want to talk about the issues because that is what probably people are tuning in for. Now, you have said you are outdoor knocking, talking to people over that coffee dinner table. What are they telling you? What are the issues that Division 4 wants addressed in this upcoming term in office as their next councillor? What are the top 3 things that you're hearing from residents in Division 4 that make you say, okay, this is what we need to focus on? What are they for you?
Again, it comes back to those non-sexy items and getting granular into the community. There is a lot of concerns around infrastructure, the state of our roads. What's the plan moving forward? We have a lot of aging infrastructure within the community. So we have a lot of gravel roads, but we actually are also really unique in rural Alberta that we have a lot of pavement too as well. So what are the plans to make sure that the money is in place when that infrastructure fails? Another one that we're hearing about, and it does fall into the pillars of what we do, but there's a lot of questions around the affordability. And I know our residents have been extremely appreciative over the last number of years. We've offered a 30% incentive. So if they pay their property taxes on time, we give them a 30% incentive. So they'll get 30% of that back, excluding, and I'm going to be really, I have to really, we exclude obviously the school requisition because that comes from the province. And then we also have a seniors foundation requisition. So we can't touch that, but from the municipal tax side, we can do that. And that again comes from a lot of leadership around the table. We do have to make some tough decisions to keep things like that going. Making sure we're finding as many efficiencies as we can within the organization. So not only in our building, but even the way that we manage our infrastructure too as well. So I've been pretty proud of that, to be able to support that and continue to support initiatives like that too as well, which kind of ties into the next kind of pieces. I've actually had a lot of questions around economic development, and obviously Brazeau County is heavily dependent on the oil and gas industry. And we know the struggles and some of the difficulties within that industry. So a lot of questions around what are we doing to diversify? And the neat thing is, because I've been at the table, I actually do sit with our task force looking after economic development and looking at new initiatives for industry. So one thing that we've kind of honed in on is of course, we're always looking for new things to bring here. But the one thing that we've been really looking at and spending a lot of time is how can we diversify the oil and gas industry? What's missing in the pieces? What issues do they have? What needs to be solved? How can we bring other businesses in to offset some of that? So we do work with a company right now. They're phenomenal. They take drilling mud where normally that would end up in landfills and very specialized landfills. We welcomed a company and they clean up drilling mud to less than 5% of it now ends up in the landfill, and they're able to recycle and reuse what they put out, rather than putting in a landfill, they can reuse it again. So that's some of the neat initiatives that we're working on that side of things. The other big industry, obviously, we've got two big industries, or two other big industries. One's agriculture, and the other is the forestry industry. So I'm actually just got appointed to the Warehouser Advisory Committee. They're redoing their forest management areas. So again, with the expertise that I bring to the table, Council has allowed me to sit at that table to work through Warehouser's 20-year plan on how they're going to manage their company and where they're going to be moving in the area. So that's going to be a neat piece too as well. And on the agricultural side, we have some really cool initiatives in the province or in the county, and I want to make sure that I'm still at the table to see them through. The ALIS, which is the Alberta or the Alternative Land Use Stewardship Program, has been active in our area for 10 years. And that's where we take subpar land that farmers, honestly, sometimes they just kind of kick it to the side, they ignore it. We have really neat programming that we allow them to fence it off and, put bee boxes in, or, I know one of our producers in the area came to the group and said, my cattle are destroying the creek beds and doing a lot of damage in that sensitive area. Can I, apply? And my suggestion is having a solar watering system. So again, being able to be at that table to approve those really neat projects and work with our producers to make sure we can find those viable solutions moving forward. The other neat thing too is we offer a herbicide rebate to our residents who look after and control weeds on their property. We know it's extremely expensive, so we do have a program for that too as well, and continuing to build on programs like that.
So there's a few things I want to pick up on what you just said there. And I want to start with this. And I've asked this to every candidate who's ever come on this show for this series in this upcoming election. And it's around the affordability challenge.
Mhm.
Do you believe, in your opinion, as a current councillor, that Brazeau County has spent tax dollars wisely?
Absolutely, we have, and it is a challenge. It's a positive. It's been a great. We've done it. We've done it well, but there's always room for improvement and efficiencies too with that. So I think we've done a great job over the years managing and maintaining, a certain level of reserves, and then spending the dollars where they need to be spent. So obviously, there's always going to be a handful of residents out there that will honestly disagree with us. That's fine. But I think we've been incredibly transparent with what we've been up to, with the projects that we've been working on, and how that they better the community and make sure that we've got a step forward into the future as we move forward. So the other affordability piece too, I wanted to pick up on and mention is, our land use bylaw took us years to work through. When I first started on council, I'm not kidding you, it was probably this thick of a document. We've got it down to about this thick. So again, talking about removing red tape, which actually reduces the cost to do business too as well. So we really peeled back that document to make sure that we applied a common sense lens to what's actually happening in the community, and peeling out some of the things. When you're out and you've got a home and a residence on a quarter section of land, do you really need to come to the county for a permit for your deck? Honestly, Chris, no, you don't. But now, if you're building a house and you're working on your deck in the hamlet of Rocky Rapids, yeah, you better, there's some standards and some rules that you have to follow when your neighbor is right beside you. So we were able to look for some of those common sense approaches to that too. And at the end of the day, we talk about common sense, but for me, it's been more important that we were able to save residents time and money by trying to be more efficient. And absolutely, we do a great job. Is there room for improvement? Absolutely. And part of this election period, knocking on doors, is still collecting those ideas. And actually, I've had, even as yesterday, I've got some really great ideas to take forward, and really look forward to the opportunity to continue to build on what we're doing.
So the reason I ask about the affordability challenge is because you talked about the economic diversification. Now, the resource sector is pretty substantial in your community, in your county. It is basically the backbone of your community. Now, the impacts on it, the challenges that it's being faced, is not the municipal doing. It is the federal, provincial, and global economic world that we live in that is kind of hammering the resource sector, whether it be lumber, agriculture, or even oil and gas. What do you see in your role as counselor and continuing on as counselor for Division 4 after this election in ensuring that your resource sector has a strong advocate around that council table or in the provincial or federal realms? Because for those who don't know, you are also the RMA president, which means that you are in Ottawa, you are in Danielle Smith's office advocating for these issues. So, what do you see as your role to ensure that these are getting a strong advocate at that council table after the October 20th?
So a few things I've picked up on there. So yes, I am the president of RMA, and I want to be really clear because I have had some questions around this. In order to keep that role and to do the work that I'm doing there representing rural Alberta, I have to have an elected official position. So if I was to lose the municipal election next month or on October 20th, I automatically lose that role too as well. So there is a lot of work to be done for advocating on the oil and gas side. So one of the unique things I think I bring to the table is I actually have experience. For about 15 years, we owned and operated a small oil field company that looked into pipelining and oil field construction and maintenance. While I didn't have boots on the ground, I eat and breathed it every day through what was happening with the company, and I looked after the finance side of things, so I could see quite clearly what was going on. And that's the neat thing about having that experience is I do have a sincere appreciation for the roller coaster ride that we work on. And it's, I always tell people when things are high and we're doing great, it's not the time to be spending either. We need to be preparing for the time that it dips down. The other piece that I have had a really unique opportunity to do is advocate both provincially and federally from a pipeline perspective and being a strong supporter of the oil and gas industry. Weekly it feels like I'm in the legislature right now talking to our friends in the provincial government. And then I have the opportunity to attend meetings in Ottawa. And first and foremost that we talk about is with great pride is the oil and gas industry, the work that's being done here. And Chris, I know I'm speaking to the choir, but we have the most ethical oil in the entire country that comes from your backyard and my backyard. And there should be no reason. People should be around the world be, begging us for our oil and gas because it's done, meeting environmental standards, exceeding it in most countries. And then the ethical part of the industry behind. I mean, we have, rights and for both men and women in this country that other countries don't have. So I'm able to push and really push on that. I was actually just in Ottawa early last week while we were talking about infrastructure and the Buy Canada policy that's being worked on. Again, oil and gas fits right into those two conversations. So I was able to have a positive spin on the oil and gas industry and realize, and residents and Canadians need to realize, and not only my residents in this area, because they already know that. I mean, if we didn't have the oil and gas industry, a lot of that pays for, it keeps our property taxes low. It pays for our health care. It pays for our education. It pays for a lot of the infrastructure that we depend on. So I think with all the experience that I've had, both, in the private sector and in this role in the previous years, I'm 100% pushing very, very hard the key parts of the industry for sure.
I just want to pick up on one last thing before we go back to the issues for a second. It's about your role as RMA president. What is the benefit for Division 4 to have you as their president? As the president of
There
RMA?
is there is a lot of benefits to having that. So I think the biggest one is I'm able to advocate for local issues and talk about. I'm able to promote Brazeau County, and I'm able to promote things that go on in my backyard on the provincial lens, and also at the federal table, which is really neat. A lot of times when we're there, so talking about infrastructure, I was just in Ottawa. I talked about the playground that we just installed in Rocky Rapids, and it seems like a drop or a needle in the haystack when you consider all things across the country. But being able to share those local success stories, I think, really proves to the province and the federal government that rural Alberta and the residents in my area, we're ready to to push our sleeves up and get to work. And when we're produced with a challenge, we're able to find practical, common sense approaches to it. Actually shines, I find, more often than not, it shines a hypersensitive lens on this community, being able to talk about where I'm from and the work that's happening in this community. It gives, some of our local companies, some of the companies that are within my division, a little bit of a leg up, because I actually often talk about who they are and what they're doing, to solve some of the bigger issues that are out there. So it is a really unique opportunity, to be able to highlight, just how special Brazeau County is, and just how special this division and this area truly is on not only just a rural Alberta scale, but a provincial and a federal scale.
I just want to quickly jump back to infrastructure challenges for a second, then we're going to talk about the future. We briefly mentioned at the beginning of the interview that as counselor, you have to represent the entire community and not just Division 4. How important is it for you to communicate with your residents about sometimes the things that you're not going to get in your division compared to what you are going to get? Because you want to sell the good things, but sometimes you're going to have to upset some people, and sometimes you're going to have to just disappoint some people. Sometimes that road is not going to be fixed, because you and I have been preaching to the choir on numerous occasions, on numerous interviews, that municipalities have a very limited supply of money and you are not getting more of it anytime soon. So how do you ensure that you're telling the people of your Division 4 the truth, even if it's hard sometimes?
It's important to always talk about the truth. And what, the one kind of positive I'm actually taking from all of this is I'm really racking my brain to figure out something that we were not successful in getting, which is a good issue or good problem to have right now. I think absolutely. I mean, one road, I brought it up earlier in the interview, for sure. I do have one troubled road. It's actually been an issue since it was rebuilt about 8 years ago. It's caused us nothing but issues, and we keep sticking band-aids on the road. Finally, to get to the point that we were at this summer, and trust me, those residents and anybody that travels that road are incredibly frustrated, with the whole process to get us to where we're at. But there is some light at the tunnel. So this again goes to prove that I'm kind of like a dog with a bone. I don't give up until I get what needs to happen happens. So this summer we had some movement. So we had some work done, some analysis done on the road, and I was able to get it put into consideration for the 2026 budget. There was two options. One was kind of the band-aid fix, and then the other was the actual fix that needs to happen. And the actual fix has got it moved its way in there. So, it is difficult. I do take those calls, Chris, and I don't like it. It is incredibly difficult to hear, from residents, the level of frustration and the passion that they bring to the table. But just reassured that no matter how big the issue is and how many years it's going to take us there, I won't give up, and I don't give up. And I have a record of not giving up and continuing to fight and to push. And, yes, it's been an incredibly long 8 years to get where we're at here now. We're not quite there. We're just about across the finish line. We just got to get that budget approved. But it's there. You're chuckling. So I think, but the residents, whenever they called and when we were dealing with that particular situation, I was really open and really frank with them, talking about the difficulties that we face together as we try and push it forward. So, if anything, I think my residents and my track record, people know I'm brutally honest. Sometimes it's not fair, but I'm not going to string you along. I definitely don't make promises. I do stand behind, suggestions and really careful about making promises, but because you and I both know the difficulties of working with the council is you have to have some other friends to go along with you. But I will advocate and work hard on issues to push them forward. And I certainly don't give up. And again, I think I've got that track record to prove that.
So you just mentioned you must have seen the list of questions, but you didn't, because I kept them
No.
all hidden and they're all up here. You just mentioned something that might happen after October 20th. Now, the people of Division 4 get to choose who their elected official is, but their elected official does not get to choose the other people that are around that council table. And that
Mhm.
means there's going to be some conflicting personalities. That means that there are going to be people that you don't know who might be sitting there. I was just looking at the list of official candidates. There could be a big changeover. There could not be.
Yes.
Who knows? That is democracy in a nutshell. Are you a team player? Can you work well with anyone who the people of your county put at that table to ensure that even though you may not get along, the best for the county is always going to be number one priority for you?
Again, I'm going to lean back to my track record. I get along and do what needs to be done. You are 100% right. And you know this, and any council knows this, is you walk into a room, and for us in this area, there's going to be seven individuals sitting around that table with seven different personalities and seven different views. But at the end of the day, I believe and truly believe in democracy, and people put people there for a reason. And I absolutely will work professionally and respectfully with whoever is put to work alongside me. And at the end of the day, it's almost like you've listened to some of my council meetings, because we do sometimes get into some heated debates, and I often, once in a while, I'm the voice that perks up and says, hey, maybe we need a break, and then come back and open with, I understand there's a lot of differing views, but at the end of the day, we were all elected. We all ran for office. I believe, and I truly believe, for the same reasons, and that's to make sure that this community is the best that it can be, and putting our best foot forward. So how about we just, take the emotion out of it. Let's stare and hyper focus on what the solutions are, and then we can work through it that way. So 100% understand that this is a team sport. Honestly, Chris, you have to work with each other, whether you like each other or not. And I have unfortunately experienced, earlier in early days, really early in my career, and being a representative, the difficulties that sometimes appear at the table. But I think I've learned over the years on how to really remove the emotion side of things and just really focus on that we're there for the right reasons. We're there to make the community a better place. And we don't have to get along after work, and that's fine. Totally understand that. But when we're in that council chambers and when we're out representing the county, we are respectful and professional to each other.
So, what's priority number one going to be for yourself if you are reelected on October 20th?
Obviously, getting the 2026 budget through, with a focus, obviously, on a couple of the road issues that I've got in my area that have popped up. And the other pieces are to continue to work within the organization, with our public and our residents, to make sure that we're as efficient as we can be. We are the government closest to the people, obviously, and making sure that we are minding our pennies in the bank. That's the other thing that, I can probably go down a rabbit hole quite quickly on, that is the province and the feds, deal in billions, we deal in pennies. And making sure that we are, remaining fiscally responsible, and that we are putting our best foot forward through the difficult times that coming, because we haven't even touched on some of the legislative changes that are coming down from the province that absolutely affect the municipalities, but I think I've got a pretty solid handle on what's coming, and being able to sit down. I don't even sit down. You know what? The day after the election, I am ready, and I actually am not even slowing down now. I won't slow down the day after the election. I'll actually probably pick up my pace, even faster than we've been moving.
So I am cautious of time here, and I have two last questions. But before we ask those two questions, I want to put this on the record. Editorial note that if you are running in this upcoming election in Division 4 or anywhere else in the province of Alberta for a municipal election and want to be featured on the Alberta Municipal Affairs Votes 2025 series, reach out to us via social media or on our website at crossbordernetwork.ca, and you can click the join the show page. That is if you want to be featured. Now, we have 343 other municipalities, plus all the rural municipalities that we have to deal with, and we need you to go at least 10% of the way, candidate. So go 10% of the way, and we'd love to have you on the show. It's a very quick turnaround time. So with that being said, my last two questions is, you are right. This election is coming down, and by the time this airs, you will have 19 days between now and when the vote happens. How can people reach out? How can people get involved? People already know you, but for those who are listening to you for the first time, who are in Division 4, how can people touch base and ask the questions that I didn't get a chance to ask?
I prefer face to face, and I prefer the phone call and a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. So my phone number is 780-898-4561. Please call, reach out. I will be outdoor knocking. Like I said, I do have that is actually one of the few promises I make. I will hit every door in my municipality. If you're not home, there's always a brochure stuck in the door. It's got my phone number too as well. Or you can reach out to me through email, and it's Kara, Kara, Lynn, Lynn, Westerlund, Westerlund @gmail.com. That is the longest email that I have to say that out loud.
For those who didn't have a pen right beside them as she was saying that, the links will be in the show notes, and also links to the Facebook page as well, because I can imagine people need to follow you as well, so that way they can keep up to date on what's going on in Division 4. So my final question, and it's the $1 million question. Why should the people of Division 4 in Brazeau County put their trust into you for another 4 years in council? Take as long or as little time as you want, Kara.
I am incredibly passionate about our community. I will hammer home. I was raised in this community. I'm raising my family in this community. I have a vested interest to make sure that this community is the best that it can be. And I will continue to put that best foot forward and continue to support and help this community. Any concerns, any questions, any issues that arise, I am willing and have shown over the last 15 years that I will be there to help you in any capacity that I can, and I will continue to do so.
Kara, always a pleasure to sit down with you. Thank you so much. And you were concerned that we weren't going to be able to chat for a half hour. I know you and we could chat for a half hour. Always a pleasure, and best of luck in the upcoming election.
Well, thank you, Chris. Thank you for all that you do, and thank you to your listeners and your viewers as well.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Alberta Municipal Votes 2025 here on Municipal Affairs. Now, we hope you've enjoyed today's conversation and gained some valuable insights into the world of this all-important municipal election campaign. Your support means the world to us, so if you can, share this episode with your friends, your family, and yes, even your community, and help keep the conversation going. Quick editorial note. As I said during the interview, if you are a candidate running in this upcoming election and want to be featured on this series, reach out to us today via social media or head over to the Cross Border Network website. There you'll find the Join the Show link, and you'll be able to fill out the information. We'll get back to you within 24 hours of you submitting that, so we can get you on this show as quickly as possible. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we will be back with a brand new episode of Alberta Municipal Votes 2025 here on Municipal Affairs shortly. Till then, everyone.